You're a dude. I'll ask you this question. Do you feel sad? Do you feel isolated from society? If you do, this is a video you need to hear. From start to finish, I have a message for you, a message of understanding of why you feel that way, and a message of repair. Perhaps repairing your feeling of isolation, your lack of self-esteem, your lack of purpose, your feeling of sadness in today's world. Thanks for clicking on the video. Thanks for being part of the Nutnfancy project. I do kindly ask, at the very least, you subscribe wherever I post this video. You think about becoming a member of the Patreon Clubhouse or whatever other donation service may arise in the future. I'll have a link below. Quality people there that you can discuss these issues with. In fact, I was doing that this afternoon. Before I filmed this, I started a new chat, and this was the subject. Male isolation, male sadness. A lot of great comments there. A lot of great input from the Patreon Clubhouse members here in TNP. Thank you for your participation, you guys. I'm an imperfect messenger, okay? I don't know why it's fallen upon me to make these videos, but I do feel compelled to make them. I am given a certain feeling that it's time to go in front of the camera and talk about a certain subject. I know it sounds stupid, but that's just what happens here. It's been going on that way for many years here in TNP. Thank you for your support throughout the decades that I intend to be doing this project, and it is a project. It involves heavy lifting, kind of like I'm going to try to do here. Attacking a very serious subject, a very debilitating thing in our society, and that is male isolation, male sadness. I will attempt to discuss as to my way of thinking of why you feel that way. And then I will attempt to give you ways that you can overcome this and repair it. And I think if you put these suggestions into place, you will overcome it. Now, who are you? Who would find this video? Well, I hope people in my audience that know of someone who has these feelings would just forward this video to you. Maybe you've never heard of the Nutnfancy project. You don't know who I am, what I do. I'm mostly a gear reviewer. But again, I do philosophy videos. I always have. As imperfectly as I know how to do. Again, I'm imperfect. I have a lot of flaws. I have a lot of dumb opinions probably, but I will try. I believe that my desires are pure. And my desires are, and I'm going to try not to get emotional during this video, but the feelings are real. And when you have real feelings, sometimes, I don't know, you just will. Don't ever be afraid of that, by the way, as a dude. Don't ever feel like if you have some tears flowing, oh, I'm not a man, I'm some pussy. It's not that way at all. Not that way at all. By the way, I've had members in my audience who started watching me when they were like 10 years old, 12 years old, and now they're adults. We are in year 18 of me doing this. I intend to do it for at least 30 years, assuming society keeps going. So who are you? Maybe you were sent this video by a friend, one of my audience members, just something to watch, something to think about. Maybe you can draw some of my thoughts into your life and you go, you know what? I'm going to apply this concept and see if it works, and I hope it does for you. You might be 18. You might be 21. You might be 28. You might be 35. You might be 50. All types of men experience feelings of abandonment, feelings of isolation, like I'm in this world all alone, feelings of loneliness. Nobody cares about me. A lot of dudes feel that way. Again, what I will attempt to do is go down some of the reasons, not all of the reasons, why you are made to feel this way by our corrupt society, and it is corrupt. And these are evil things that are being perpetrated upon you, especially the young men of this world, because this is exactly where they want you. This is exactly how they want you to feel. They want you to feel like you're alone and that no one cares about you and you have no network of support and you better go along to get along. This is the program. This is the propaganda that you are force-fed day after day, week after week, year after year. So who are you? I would expect that most of the dudes watching this video are under 20. The ones that really need to hear it, I think maybe a large group from 20 to 30, and then going on up in age. Like I said, it can affect every age group and for a variety of reasons. Again, I can't cover them all of why you would feel this way. Before I get into it of why you would feel this way and how we repair ourselves, I'm included in that list. Let me tell you that in my life, I have felt the same feelings that perhaps you have. Feelings that you're all alone, no one's there really to help you, and that if something's going to get done, you're going to have to do it. I'm going to have to do it. My dad got killed when I was 20 years old in an airplane accident, crashed into Utah Lake, died instantly with another pilot. Here he was, a Vietnam veteran, multiple tours as a forward air controller. And I had to deal with that. I feel in a very lonely way. I had other family, but they were not super supportive during that process. They didn't have the same belief systems I have, and that is God-based, faith-based, Jesus Christ-based, and it remains that way to this day. And I will integrate those thoughts into this video with no apology. And so I felt quite alone. I asked myself why it happened. I was like, why do I have to lose my dad at such a young age? And I have talked about this in other videos, but it's probably worth a review. And maybe you haven't seen those other videos. It was really hard for me to deal with. And I asked myself, why me? Why do I have to go through this? Why did I lose my dad so young? I felt like I was unjustly attacked by the heavens, that I didn't really see a reason why this had to happen. Does that sound familiar in your life? Yes, Nutnfancy, it sounds very familiar. And it may not be the loss of your mom or your dad. It may be some other thing. Maybe it's a health-related thing that you have had to deal with. And you're like, why me? Why am I going through this? And maybe like me in the day, you don't have a real strong support structure and you do feel isolated. As I think back on those times, and I journaled through that whole time, I could actually break my journal out. I could read you those journal pages. It would be very depressing, I bet. I know some of you guys probably want me to do that. I've journaled my whole life, at least from a young man. Probably from age 18 on, I've journaled. And so I have volumes and volumes and volumes on my life. And I can go back and relive the feelings. And by the way, I do recommend, I'll jump ahead to repair. I think one of the things you should start doing immediately today is journal. I know in some ways in society, journaling is considered effeminate. Don't think of it that way. It is just a human experience. By you journaling, and it doesn't have to be a big thing. You're not writing a huge dissertation every day, but you are writing every day, and you have to be absolutely honest in your journal. Never tell a lie to your journal, because if you lie to your journal, you're lying to yourself. Don't do that. Talk about feelings, though. Your future kids, if you have some kids, other family members, whoever finds that journal, even complete strangers, will be touched by your honesty, and they'll be touched by you addressing the difficulties in your life. Like when I lost my dad, later on I lost 2 kids in childbirth. I lost my brother, he was killed. I lost my stepbrother, he was killed. I lost my sister, she died. I've been through what I feel is a fair amount of sadness in my life. And yet somehow I have to pick myself up and soldier on, just like I want you to do. Now, I'm not saying this, and I'm not setting the stage in this video to get sympathy. I don't expect any sympathy at all. I'm just saying that I want you to understand that I have had some of those experiences, and I think it helps this video. That's my only intention, not to draw attention to myself. We all go through things we just question, like, why am I going through this? Why do I have to put up with this? Maybe it's because you don't have a dad. Maybe you don't have a father figure at all in your life, and you go, well, I feel ripped off. I have friends that have good dads. I don't. I tune into the Nutnfancy project. Nutnfancy is my surrogate dad. And by the way, I'm A-okay with that. And I have a lot of dudes who fall into that category over the years. I'm not even making that up. And I'm happy for it. If in some way I can be a role model for masculinity, for wholesomeness, for goodness, rock on. We all have things where we feel like we've been unjustly persecuted and we end up in this situation. Maybe you got fired from your job. Maybe a girl that you really liked broke up with you. She didn't like you back. You did everything right. You feel like you've done everything right, and yet you're still screwed over in life. Sound familiar? There's hope for you. That's the grand message of this video, is there's hope for you. And I know it's weird coming from a gear review channel, but sometimes messages come from the least expected sources in life, right? You need to be open to the sources. I was talking to one of my value TNP Patreon members in our chat this afternoon. He said something along the lines of, I had a great uncle in my life. I never appreciated him. I was resentful towards him because I forget what exactly he said. It was like, he was trying to be my dad. My real dad wasn't in my life. I acted like a complete asshole to him. And I didn't realize until I was older that he was actually a good man, that he had been a good father surrogate to me. And it was later in life that I told him, we had a sit down chat, and I was a man with him. I said, I appreciate what you've done for me, and I never appreciated it when I was younger. I'm sorry. And sometimes when we're younger, we just don't have that wisdom. You know, we think of just in the moment, short term. We don't see the long game, and we should, but we don't. And I said something like that in comment. I was like, oftentimes we just don't think in long terms, and we make mistakes when we're in our youth. And my point in bringing this story up is that sometimes we're brought people into our lives that at first examination we go, why is this person in my life? They're unsuitable. That's not what I was expecting. It's not what I was wanting. But maybe God thinks this person is the one to help you. And so I would recommend to you, be open to people like that are good, that are wholesome, and that teach you good values, or if nothing else, are a good role model for you. It might be from an unexpected source. Moving on with the video, so it's not 2.5 hours long. It wouldn't be 2.5 hours, but I don't rush. You know, I think short form content rots our brains to a large degree. Yes, I'm in Instagram, but after being in Instagram for a while, I go, man, this is exhausting. It's like one 10-second video after another. I think it does something to our brains where we can't concentrate. We can't think upon meaningful topics. We just kind of turned into morons. And I think social media overall has an acidic effect upon us. And let's start this off. It has an acidic effect on men. And that's what the world wants you to be. They want you to be addicted to their programming, which does, I think, in a lot of ways hurt your life. There are good messages. This is one of them, I think, on social media. But it's real easy to tie into some messages that are not good, that will hurt your self-esteem, hurt your progress as a man, destroy you. I think pornography is a huge one of those. So if you're addicted to porn right now, you need to get off of that and address it very honestly. It's not helpful. It's not going to create a happier life for you. It's just going to hurt you overall. It's going to hurt your relationships. And there is hope. So if you're addicted to porn, take care of it, address it head on, get help. There are support groups, and there are millions and millions of men who have traveled that road. And there's some in my chat today that mentioned that. And I love the honesty in our chat that we had. And that's what I wanted. I want guys to be real. I don't want you to be fake, be real. Say, yeah, I have a porn addiction. This is what happened with me. I'm overcoming. And it's a recovery process like alcoholism. But that's when the acidic effects of social media, I hate to just say social media, I'd say the internet as a whole, the messaging to men as a whole, I would say, in today's society is caustic. It's an attack on men. And this is my first talking point, is that it is programmed, it's designed to have a certain effect, and that is to destroy the morality and the self-esteem of men. Because if you are to look at the core of society, a good society, it's not women. Okay, women are a very important part of society. They are our moms, they are our wives, they have an irreplaceable function, to be sure. But the foundation of a good, moral, organized, peaceful society is men. Good, moral men. And the way you destroy society is by destroying men. You get into their minds, you mess with their minds, and you do all the things I want to talk about that may have had an effect on you. Why do I talk about this? Because it's very important to understand the tactics of the enemy in order to combat the enemy. And a lot of the stuff I'm going to tell you, you're going to go, whoa, that makes sense. A light's going to go off. You're going, yeah, it's like that. I really never thought about it in those terms. There is an organized, planned attack on manhood, especially here in the West, especially here in the United States. The number one message that they send out to you is that men are the cause of all societal problems. It's not women. It's not the feminists. It's men. That's in messaging. That's in television shows. That's in advertisements where they always portray males as complete morons, especially white males, as complete morons. You ever notice this? If not, you have not been paying attention. It's in movies. Men are at the cause of all evil is the message being sent to you by all media. When I say all media, I'm talking about Hollywood, mainstream pop culture, alternate media like you'll find in YouTube, on Rumble, YouTube. Some of Instagram has correct messaging, but a young man growing up being messaged this way, saying, hey, you're the cause of all problems, you're a misogynist, you're evil, you are to be punished, you have no special privileges, it's the time of women now. And they don't have a father figure to dispel all this nonsense. It can integrate into their thinking. And this has happened to a lot of boys now becoming young men. They're going, oh gosh, I didn't know it. Yeah, but I guess men are. Don't be gaslit. Okay, this is a process, again, trying to get into your mind. It is propaganda. The messaging says that men deserve societal banishment. Just look at popular movies. Well, they're not popular. No one's watching them. I guess morons are watching them. But the new remake of Lord of the Rings by Amazon, total garbage. Watch the channel Nerdrotic. He's awesome. He'll pull out all this messaging. He'll show all the propaganda in a very entertaining way. Nerdrotic is awesome. Hey, Nerdrotic, what's up? Sub to me. I've subbed to you. Nerdrotic is awesome. But he'll talk about all this propaganda messaging, the woke messaging. Much of it, if not all of it, is anti-male. In all of these movies, I won't even say most, in all of the latest movies, you will not see a strong, especially white, male character lead. If you see males in there, they're usually going to be beta males. They're going to be confused. And they usually, in the storyline that we're being shoved, they'll need the rescuing by some female. A strong alpha female, a girl boss. And then she will correct him and show him what an idiot he is. So what happens when you, a young man, watches these shows? You go, oh my gosh. Well, some dudes will. Some will go, oh my gosh, I guess women are all that. Now, I will say, and I will stick up for Gen Z, there is a ton of pushback from Gen Z. They are very aware of this propaganda. My son, last suspect, is a Gen Zer. He's made me aware of this. He goes, don't be deceived. Almost entirely Gen Z is pushing back against this propaganda. But there are people, there are dudes, maybe you're one of them, who maybe you didn't even realize it, but this messaging has seeped into the way you think about yourself. And maybe you think, well, I'm not capable. I'm not a strong alpha male. If I was, I would see it on the big screen. They want societal banishment, and they think it's due. And again, the messaging is integrated, and it permeates all pop culture. You could dial into any show. And for the record, I do not watch any of these shows. I've tried. I can't get further than 5 minutes because I'm so adept at identifying this propaganda. I'm going propaganda, anti-whiteism, anti-heterosexuality. That's another message that's being spread out there, all focused at destroying, I think, mainly men. And by doing that, they destroy the family as a whole. Hollywood will exclude strong male figures, usually. They don't want that being a role model for you. Now, if we're to go back, I'm 59 right now, believe it or not. I'm 59. So I've had a great life. I thank God every day for my span of years that I've lived, because I was a child of the 70s, the 80s. I was married in the 90s, raised my kid in the 90s, early 2000s. It was great. So the interesting thing that I have is perspective. And what we had when we grew up, like let's say I'm 12 years old, I would turn on movies and I would see a ton of strong role models. These guys are out there just kicking ass. They're shooting guns. They're tough guys. Charles Bronson, Clint Eastwood, a ton of dudes. Sylvester Stallone. These were strong, masculine, maybe over the top, maybe not realistic, but Hollywood at the time was not afraid to put this up on the screen, and it sold. People loved that. They loved the clear definition between good and evil. They loved it when the good guy won, and they loved it when there was a strong male lead. We also welcomed strong females in our movies, like Ripley in Aliens. We loved her. That's in the same time frame. We didn't go, oh, Ripley, there's a woman, we hate her. We celebrated her. But she showed a weakness. She showed fear. She showed her ability to overcome in a tough situation, and there was no one else to do the job, and so she did the job. We love that. Modern society will give no credit for that. They will gaslight you again, saying, it was always men, and now it's time for women. This fly I got to kill somehow. Hollywood nowadays, you will not see that. Again, strong male leads. This is important because it's part of the propaganda. It's part of the messaging. I think you may get that. What is put up on screen, again, is a subservient, usually idiotic, highly flawed beta male who often is shown with effeminate characteristics. He has an effeminate face. He has an effeminate body build. He's not strong. Compare and contrast that against the action heroes of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Messaging. Propaganda. This is all part of you getting a message and you being downtrodden. That's what they want. And if you look at the producers, the creators, the writers of these shows, most of them are feminist females. And they're supported by also beta males. Maybe they're alpha males like Jeff Bezos. He's an alpha male, but he supports the message. And that's what it's generally called, the message. He supports that with billions of dollars. And in a lot of ways, they don't really care if the show is successful or not. All they really want to do is move the dials on society and punish you. Punish me, a strong alpha male. Number 2. So all this messaging, all this propaganda, it results, this is what they want it to result in, is in father abandonment. Essentially, they want the fathers of the family to either leave outright, abandon their children, don't be a part of their lives, or if they are in their lives, to really be kind of absent. And maybe you had a dad like this. And I know a lot of you guys are nodding your head up and down, like, yeah, that was my dad. He was there, but he really wasn't there. I've talked to a lot of my viewers like this in private messages, in person. They go, yeah, my dad, he was just there. He'd go to work. He'd come home. He really wouldn't say that much. He seemed depressed all the time. He wasn't part of my life. He never took me on adventures. I watched your channel to see adventures. You're like my dad in surrogates, some say. And my dad wasn't like that. And I think their dad loved them, but I think maybe in their own way and in their own era, they were probably battling some of the same issues. The feeling of inadequacy, the feeling of being trapped, the feeling of not achieving what they wanted to achieve, the feeling of being, in some ways, a failure, I think. Some guys are that way. And what they don't realize is if they were to overcome that and be part of their sons' lives, great things could have been achieved. We're flawed. We all have problems. All of us have dysfunctional families. Raise your hand if you have a dysfunctional family. I do. At least the one I grew up in. My immediate family, Mrs. Nutnfancy and the boys, thumbs up, dude. Not dysfunctional. That's because I decided, hey, I'm not going to go down this road. I mean, I made a commitment to myself, a goal to myself. We'll revisit that. I'm not going to go down that road. But they want the fathers to abandon the family, and they want to dissolve the traditional family and replace it with another religion. The religion they want to replace it with is a religion of the state. And it's never the same. It's ever morphing. And all you have to do is exactly what they tell you, when they tell you. And by the way, what they told you last year will probably be different of what they're telling you this year. They want slaves. The biggest way to battle the servitude to the state is with a very strong traditional family unit. Man and woman who love each other with children. And they can dispel all the garbage, the propaganda to their children as they navigate their way through what has turned out to be an upside down world. Maybe you come from a family where you didn't have that. We'll talk about how you can overcome that. All is not lost. You can overcome it. You will overcome it. But that's what they're trying to do. They want to destroy the family unit. If you want to destroy society, remake it, revise history, attack the family. And you cannot be successful in that goal unless you destroy fatherhood. However, you need to destroy it. Pop culture, I've talked at length about this. The transsexuality movement, another way of attacking the fathers. That you are presenting to society an alternate family unit. Okay, that you're having children choose their gender and create confusion in these children. So no longer do you have this identity of male, female. They are attacking that because it creates confusion. They want confusion and they want misery. Okay, if you were to look at the happiness levels of transsexual people, check out their happiness level. I saw a poll one time. I can't quote what the numbers are because I don't remember them, but they were extremely low. Of transgender people who transition either to female, that's the majority, I think. Some to male, I guess, but not really, for obvious reasons. But I think it was like 10% said, hey, are you happier after transitioning? And most of them aren't. So that's part of their goal, is to create misery, confusion, destroying the family. And if you look at a lot of these movements, and I don't want to get too deep in the weeds with this, but if you look at a lot of movements, they are excluding the parents, that schools will push this transgender, this homosexual agenda upon children, and they do not need the approval of the parents at the house. In fact, there have been school districts that have been just basically raised at meetings by parents fighting this movement. What is this movement about? Attacking men, primarily, and by doing so, destroying the family unit. And in doing so, they will enforce whatever wave of feminism we find ourselves in now. And feminism is also a lie sold to women to destroy the family. So I'm focusing on the attack on men, but it's also been on women because they've attacked women's femininity, their true femininity, their motherly characteristics, their ability to do the most miraculous of all things, and that is to have children and raise children. That too drives to the heart of having a successful, peaceful, orderly society. Our moms are super duper critical. They've attacked that whole process by telling and brainwashing millions upon millions of women who have bought this message in that you don't need men. You're a girl boss. You're awesome. Go out, work for a corporate slave master, not a husband, a righteous husband, but go work for a corporation and you'll be happier. We have a lot of feminists now in this day and age who are older. They're in their 50s and their 60s. They were unable to create a family. They never had children, and they are lamenting the fact, I couldn't get that thing. They're lamenting the fact that they don't have children. They don't have a husband. They don't have anybody. They're going to die alone, if they're lucky, with a cat. So feminism is another way of destroying the family unit, attacking masculinity, and also, and I hear this from dudes all the time, from my own boys, it's very hard to find a traditional girl these days because most of them have adopted this feminist way of thinking. They have a high body count, sexually speaking. They're very promiscuous. They have tattoos all over their body. Most of them are overweight. And a lot of the young kids that I'm talking to is like, I cannot find a normal girl. And if a girl's pretty, I mean really pretty, generally she's on social media, aesthetic to them as well, if not more so than men, posting lewd pictures of herself, maybe on OnlyFans, something like this. And, they're ruining their lives as well. They just don't know it yet. Like 10, 20 years down the road, they're going to find that no man wants them, that they have sold their soul for money, and they're going to be miserable for it. So father abandonment is in full swing. Would I say it's been successful? Yes. Let me give you a percentage of success. And this is just spitballing. But I would say that all the things I'm talking about, the propaganda messaging through not, by the way, just Hollywood shows, television shows, online shows, movies, but also by the news and how they cover the news, what they say in the news, and how slanted it is against the traditional family, which it definitely is. I call it the Communist Party feeds, the CPF. Don't watch it. Seek out alternate news like Mark Dice, Tim Pool's good. Definitely Tucker Carlson, awesome. Salty Cracker, another great feed. Gateway Pundit, also excellent. Seek out those more true information sources. But how successful has it been? 65%. I think 35% of people have resisted it, and I think that's where we're at right now. And I could be off, but that's where I think we are. So what's the result of all this? So I talked about attack on men, father abandonment. Maybe you're shaking your head through all this going, yep, sounds familiar. Yep, sounds familiar. What it's done is it's created a feeling of anger and solitude within men. Now, I want to assign an age group to this because initially I was thinking, well, it's just young men that feel this way. No, I think it's a lot of men feel this way. Some may even be married. But I think there's a feeling in our young men right now of anger because a lot of you guys have seen through this propaganda messaging. You don't like it. You know it's false. You know it's untrue, but you don't quite know what to do about it. We're in a dangerous phase in our society. When we have a mass shooter incident, it's not about guns. Okay, always the left will go after the guns. Oh, it's the guns, it's guns. Well, no. I mean, you have all types of other ways to injure, hurt people out there besides a firearm. It's really about parenting. It's about fatherhood. It's about usually a young person, and there's been some transgender shooters, like in Nashville, for instance, not really feeling a connection to society, and they feel alone, they feel frustrated, and some of them have mental illnesses that were unaddressed, and they lash out in a most inappropriate way. I think we're in that era now where we can have this happen more because there are so many isolated men. And this is the most frustrating thing about society, and this shows you about how caustic, how evil the message is. Because if they really cared about society, if they really cared about the well-being of society, saving lives, they would care about men. They would take care of men. They would hold men up and honor them in certain ways. They do exactly the opposite. And so what they're setting up is more of these, possibly, not guaranteed, but estranged individuals that are full of anger and solitude who may do things like this. I will bring up a religious thing right now, And that is Satan loves everything that's going on. Satan loves the anger that men feel. He loves the isolation. He loves the destruction of the traditional family. He loves the messaging of Hollywood. He loves the messaging of Amazon, of Disney. Loves it. He's the father of that message. Okay, you want to get real? Let's get real. It's satanic. God does not deliver messages like this. God is about freedom, free agency, hope, peace, love. Anything that does not create those feelings in your heart is not of God. Remember I said free agency. That's really important. Anything that is compulsory does not come from God. Men feel rejected by society. They feel like they can't turn to society. When I say society, I'm talking about pretty much everything. In your workplace, you feel rejected. You don't feel appreciated. You feel like you have to really edit what you say, how you say it. You have to speak the language of the left, of the wokeness, in order to keep your job. Sound familiar? You're not alone. There's millions and millions of dudes like this. But guys generally will go, I'm going to play the game because I need to put bread on the table. And some of you guys have families you're like, I know Nutnfancy. I know exactly what you're talking about. And it irritates me greatly, but I have to walk a certain way at work. Otherwise, I'll lose my job. Understood. Creation of anger and solitude. The internet does this a lot too. So I mentioned, hang on just one sec. You know, I was talking about the decades of when I grew up, 70s, 80s. You know what we did not have back then? Well, a lot of things like digital music, but we didn't have the internet. Were we worse off because of that? I mean, think about all the information you get off the internet. It's amazing. It really is. You have every answer to pretty much every question in the world right here in your pocket. With your phone, right here. Everything you could ever want to know, right here. We didn't have that in the 70s and 80s. And yet, look at our families back then. Look at the overall health of the nation back then. Was it worse or was it better? I think you know the answer. It was much better. The internet has a lot of good things to it. We know this. I hope this video will be one of those good things. Lots of great, pure, correct, true information on the internet. But for every piece of true, correct, pure, wholesome information, you have about 1 million, maybe perhaps 1 billion pieces of incorrect, false, acidic, destructive, immoral information. Entertainment. You know this. The internet, I think, as a whole has been punishing to men. Part of that is the gaming culture. Yes, I'll say that. The gaming culture has turned into a way of life for millions, perhaps even billions of young men. Why is it? Because, in my opinion, that's all it is. It represents escape. They're trying to escape what is out there. They're trying to escape this garbage messaging, how they're meant to feel unwanted, unloved, and accepted by society. They can go into an alternate world in their online game and they are somebody. They are a hero. They have an online friend group that is understanding. I'm not really condemning that. What I'm saying is that making it a lifestyle where you have nothing but synthetic, false, electronic experiences in life will not make you a man. That's another way that the adversary, you know who, can take you out of real life. It really doesn't matter how he takes you out. He just doesn't want you marrying a woman, creating babies, teaching these babies good things, and helping society continue. However he does that is a win. If he does it by making you a video game addict, you're doing 10 hours a day, it's a win. It's a different way of winning, still a win. Now, I do watch some red pill content online. If you don't know what that is, look it up. I agree with much of it. Much of it is on point. It's railing on modern feminism, the entitlement of modern girls, modern women, their delusion. All agree. one part of the message is, in some form, say, hey, you should never get married, you should never have babies. I will slightly disagree with that, maybe heartily disagree with it, because if you look very hard, if you make God your partner in this search, I think most of you guys can find women to have families with, to create another societal unit. But I'll tell you what, online gaming can be more than a distraction. It can become, as it is for many, many young men, a way of life. And it's not going to result in happiness. You can put all your energy into a video game. Maybe you go to the top levels, you become competitive. Maybe you go to tournaments, you win tournaments, but in the end, it's all electronic. It does not translate usually to real life. There are select few players who it does. They make good money off of it, but for every one of those, you probably have a million guys that never make it. What I'm teaching you is that beware of things that take you out of real life. Beware of things that give you a false sense of happiness that does not last. What will give you true happiness is really becoming a true man, a masculine, moral, hardworking, achieving male, and disregarding all the crap you hear in society and all the propaganda. Turn those off. Don't listen to them. And eschew, big word, synthetic experiences for real experiences. Something I've always modeled here in the Nutnfancy project. Live real. Another thing, we're talking about the creation of anger and solitude of men, and then I'm going to get on how to repair yourself. Again, I'm not in a hurry in this video, so no apologies on the length of the video. Creation of anger and solitude. Another part of the message is it is the age of women. Okay, and this actually goes into our grade schools, junior high schools, colleges for sure, that men, true strong men, are attacked, they're belittled, they are to be punished. That now is the age of women, the realm of women. Again, go back to some of those shows, Acolyte, The Lord of the Rings, whatever the heck it is. They're showing women as being it. They are the key characters. They never are flawed, generally speaking. And the message is women are where it's at. You men have created a horrible disaster of a society for us. That is a false message. Everything we have good in society came from a man. Electricity, concrete, vehicles, aircraft of all sorts and descriptions, farming, development of land, everything. Just throw a dart on the board of society, and it was created generally by a man. But you're not given any credit for this. So in the end, you are pressured and expected to be sad, expected to be disconnected from society, expected to just sit down, shut up, and do not push back on the messaging. That is what you are expected to do. So what has that resulted in? Millions of disconnected males who feel alone, sad, unable to find a good girl, and just not knowing where to turn, what to do. End of part 1. So that's why you've been made to feel that way. It's part of a grand plan. It comes from Satan. Just being honest with you, we don't pull punches here in TNP anymore. Those days are gone. We need to talk honestly about the spiritual battle between good and evil. You have God on one side, you have Satan on the other. Is what it is. If you don't agree, no apologies. Have good luck with your value system, whatever it is, but that's my value system. So let's talk about how to change. Nutnfancy, I'm 21 years old. I agree with everything you said in the video up to this point. I feel disconnected. I feel angry. I feel sad. I feel inadequate in life. I feel like everything I've tried to do, I failed at. I don't know where I'm going to go. I'm barely hanging on money-wise. I don't have a girl. I don't have a relationship. I don't have prospects. What am I supposed to do? You know, society isn't going to help me. They don't feel sorry for me. They're not going to ever tell my story to the world. Here's what you do. And I've covered this in some other videos, but this message has to be repeated. In this video, I'm going to call it the Great Reset of Man. You're going to reset yourself. Okay, and I swear, I really want to kill this fly. Where's my fly swatter? Of course, I don't have one handy. I got to go manual. Too close for missiles, switching to guns. What you're going to do is reset yourself. Whatever's happened has happened. Whatever mistakes you've made them. Put them behind you. If you wake up tomorrow after hearing this video, I want you to be different. Not in huge ways, in small ways, but you're going to be consistent in this. The first thing you're going to do is use the power of this, your mind. Your mind is a powerful tool. The way you think about yourself is the way you're going to program yourself. If you think, as you have probably been doing, of yourself as a failure, you're going to be a failure. If you repeat the messaging in your mind that all these sources send to you as a young man, you're probably going to continue to fail. This is what they want you to do. You're going to cut that information off. You're not going to listen to it. You're not going to watch shows that have negative messaging, not movies, not YouTube videos, not Insta Reels. You're only going to watch the Nutnfancy Project. Okay, well, other sources, and I gave you some earlier. You're going to cut that off, and you're going to use the power of your mind to create an idea of what you would like to be. After you listen to this video, for instance, and I don't care if you're single. I said a 21-year-old who's single, but maybe you're married. Maybe you have some issues of feeling alone, solitude. Maybe a marriage is weak. I don't know. I want you to close your eyes and just picture the perfect you. The sky's the limit. What would be the perfect you that you could imagine? More handsome? More fit? Not fat? Active? Attracted to women? Good job? Good income? Couple cool cars? Living in a great place? Just totally financially stable? Imagine it. Imagine it. When you go to bed, I want you to think about it, and I want you to imagine it in such detail that it becomes part of your way of thinking. Don't think of yourself as a loser anymore. I don't care what you're doing right now. Maybe you're driving Uber and that's all you have. Cool. You got money coming in. We're going to use that job. We'll go to a different one later. But never, ever, ever think of yourself as a loser, as a non-masculine man. You're an alpha male. You're capable. You're fit. You can accomplish great things. You can set goals and achieve them, and you will. You're going to change your thinking about yourself. Don't expect any help from society. None. They profit off not helping you. The messaging will remain the same. It will probably get worse. Oh well. If it's negative, if it doesn't fit into the new you, into the reset you, don't watch it. Don't use it. Don't let it become part of your life. You'll be amazed at an instantaneous transformation in your life. I know I sound like a motivational speaker, and I guess in some ways I am. But I'm not joshing you, and I'm not charging you a dime for this information. It's absolutely free. The best things in life usually are. Think this way about yourself for 1 week, dude. 1 week, the new you. And you may say to yourself, this is insanity. What's he talking about? There's no way I can ever be that way. Pretend. Pretend you are that way. Get up the next day and go, you know what? I'm not this way. And I've always thought of myself as kind of a loser, but I'm going to kind of pretend I'm not. Watch what happens. Watch what happens to people around you. They're going to say, something's different about you, dude. You seem like a go-getter now. Things will start to happen, usually. Maybe they won't. The power of the mind is one of your greatest tools. Remember when I told you my dad got killed? I had nobody here give me this chat. The internet was not even a thing back then. He died in 1984. This is what I did. I was like, well, this is rough. I'm kind of at a fork in the road. I can either go down this path or I can go down and pretend that I'm stronger than I actually feel, and press on with the goals that I have in my life. I got down on bended knee with my Father in heaven, and I asked his help. I was like, I can't do this alone. And I couldn't. It was just too much for me to bear. And I said, Heavenly Father, I feel so much sadness and actually so much anger at having to go through this. And I've alluded to that I felt like, gosh, I just can't do this alone. And I don't think God expected me to. I think part of the plan was just turning to him and having a sense of humility that I couldn't do it alone, that I was just like, gosh, dang it, man. God, Dad was my world at the time. And my mom, I love my mom, and she taught me some great things in my life, but my dad was my strength and my influence. Go watch my old videos, Lessons of My Father, and I'll tell you some of the things he taught me. Some of them are being integrated here. So I basically gave it over to God, and I said, hey, God, I just, man, it's hard. If you could just help me, and I will continue on the best I can and do my part, but I need some doors open for me. That's what I want you to do. When you think about the new you, take it up with God and say, listen, I'm imperfect. I have flaws. I don't know if I'm going to be successful in this thing, but I'm going to try. And again, I think you're going to see immediate changes in your life. Do I promise you this? Yes. In the name of God, I promise you it will happen. You'll have immediate positive changes in how you think about yourself, how you feel about yourself, and the things, more importantly, you feel that you can achieve. In doing so, and this is one of the things we're going to do in our reset, is we want to achieve emotional stability. I don't know if you've ever heard this before. Here's part of the message I'm sending in this video. By emotional stability, I mean that you are like this in your life. That you'll have some ups and downs, but it won't be super high. It won't be super low. It'll be about like this. Maybe right now, you're experiencing this. You'll have some real sharp highs, and they'll just spike down in really low lows. And I've gone through that. I've charted it in my own journals. I could show you charts. Like when Dad died, I charted way low. It was just, like you get too low, it's like, the S word. That you're just like, why continue? I feel like I need to check out of this. I can't deal with this anymore. What you'll do when you reset yourself, reset how you think about yourself, is you're always going to have highs and lows. It'll be always like this. But what we're going to do is we'll have a baseline here. We don't want to come too far off the baseline. Highs will be close to the baseline. Lows will be close to the baseline. You may have never heard that message before, and that's probably one reason why your life right now is so sucky, is you do not have emotional stability. If you apply the things I'm talking about, you're going to get emotional stability, again, free of charge. One thing you're going to do, and I know this is weird. Sorry, I got to blow my nose. And one of my TNP donors mentioned this. Max mentioned this. Is you need to have an exercise program. Okay? Dudes do very well if they're exercising. And I bet you, if you're in, the depression mode of your life, you think negatively about yourself, chances are you are not exercising physically. We need to exercise physically. We need to exercise mentally. So you need to exercise. Now, I'm not going to come on this camera and say, hey, you need to be cut, you need to be shredded, you need to have a six-pack. I surely don't. But you need to exercise. You need to go exert hard, hopefully every day. Whether you go lift for 30 minutes, you go run on the treadmill for 30 minutes, do it. That's part of resetting yourself. It's part of rebuilding, very important, your self-esteem, of how you think about yourself. Because if no other accomplishment is achieved that day, you worked out. That is an accomplishment. And when we do accomplishments as dudes, as alpha males, guess what happens? It leads to other accomplishments. Boom. We just build right here. Build, 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 build. When we reset ourselves, our old self is put beside. You need to exercise. Is this easy? Not really. I don't think anything is really easy in life. I think there's a lot of things that are difficult in life. But anything that's worthwhile is difficult. Here's how you should start out. And I don't care how you exercise, but if you want specifics, do this. Find a treadmill, do 25 minutes to start off with. You don't even have to run. Just walk briskly on a treadmill 5 days of 7. So 5 out of 7 days you're going to walk. Do that 2 weeks in a row. Walk, and then pretty soon you're going to get bored of walking. Turn it into a slow jog. 25 minutes, turn it into 30 minutes. Honestly, if you want to go longer than that, you can, but we're talking about the bare minimum to fill the square of an exercise program. If you can integrate weight training into it, absolutely do this. And again, for toning, you don't have to become some weight or some gym dude that's like all muscly. If you want to, go for it. But I think your time and energy might be better spent in creating a long-term career for yourself. But exercise, it will generate self-esteem. It'll generate an accomplishment, a sense of accomplishment in your life. I said that one accomplishment will lead to another. Okay? I'm a huge goal setter. So set a goal. And by the way, when you set a goal, it has to be time-based. When will I reach this goal? And notice, by the way, my goal's right here. It's not way up here where it's impossible. Set a small goal and break them down. Again, I've talked about this, like in Live to Impress Yourself. This is part of that philosophy. Take that goal seriously. Write it in your journal. I talked about journaling and the importance of it. Write it down. A goal not written down is only a wish. A goal not oriented to time is only a wish. By this date, I will accomplish this goal. Hold yourself accountable. Nobody else should do that for you. You need to do it. Hold yourself accountable. Okay, very important. And if you don't reach it, figure out why. What did I do wrong? Hang on, I got to close this door. Figure out why you didn't achieve it. What went wrong? How could I do better in my goal setting? Be honest. Set a new goal. I have a printout here from my chat tonight with the Patreon group. Loki said this. He goes, one of the best pieces of advice I was ever given is to try at least one bit success every week. Success is personally defined. It might be completing a hike or getting something fixed at home. Agree. I certainly had a point in my life where I felt like I was limping along, not achieving anything. No, you're not alone. Find places to meet like-minded individuals. I'll talk to this. Be willing to be vulnerable and start a conversation. Here's his thing right here. Only the best production quality here in the video. That's what I'm talking about. If you have small successes, it will lead to bigger successes. Again, forget society. Don't let society have any influence on how you think of yourself or what you're doing. That is acidic. The visualization that I've talked about is very important. You're going to do this daily. Visualize your perfect self. That's right. I said perfect, not flawed. I want him to be perfect. Like when I became an Air Force pilot, it felt like the farthest off dream I could ever imagine. Yeah, my dad was an Air Force pilot, but that was a different era. I still have to go through pilot training. I have to go through specific weapon systems training, ejection seat training, survival training, resistance training, all this stuff. Nevertheless, when I went to bed at night, I pictured myself with a G suit climbing into a T-38 cockpit. This is a very moving visual thing for me, exactly like I've been teaching you. I could see it. I could see myself climbing up the ladder. Young, handsome, G-suit, flight suit. Lieutenant Nutnfancy taking his T-38 for a solo. Was it a far-off dream? Perhaps. But guess what? I achieved it. Against all odds. I had no support structure other than Mrs. Nutnfancy. She was with me, and she was great, still is great. We've been married forever. Love her to death. But it was me and her against the world. But that's the one, that visualization, every night, I'm going to get through this. Like through pilot training, all the studying, had like sinus problems. I was clogging. I was doing spin training in T-37 twin jet aircraft at the time. It was rough. But guess what? Every night when I went to bed, I was like, I see myself climbing in that cockpit. I see myself going to a major weapons system. I am not going to quit. Go watch the movie Officer and a Gentleman. Great movie. One of the key messages of that movie is, I'm not going to quit. You're going to have to chase me out of here. I don't care. I don't have anything else. I will see this through. That's the kind of commitment I want from you young men, maybe you older men who are going through some life changes that for whatever reason, you're resetting your life. Visualization. Commitment. I'm not quitting. Now, another thing you're going to do, so let's say you're doing this. You've revisualized, you're resetting yourself, you're feeling better, things are changing in your life. You're like, holy cow, this is really turning around. And I don't want you to expect a miracle. I mean, you're not going to win the lottery or anything, but things are just going to be better. You're going to think more highly of yourself, which is critical. You're going to have people respond to you more positively, maybe at work, maybe socially. But you young men who are looking for women, I also want you to, if you're heavier, lose that weight. Create your more handsome self and get critiqued in this. That's right, I said it. Probably you have someone in your life, maybe it's a female, maybe it's a male, and they can give you brutal feedback on how you look to the opposite sex. Listen, your dude may say, dude, you're fat, you have a goofy looking beard, bushy eyebrows, goofy teeth. We're going to change everything. You're going to get a different haircut. You're going to lose some of that weight to bring out the facial structure. You'll look more handsome that way. We're going to get rid of the beard. We're going to dress differently. We're going to dress like our more handsome self. Now, I'm a long-time married guy, and you might be looking at me like, Nutnfancy, you're not following your own advice. You always look like a goof. I'm married, dude. Now, I try, but when you get older, well, sometimes put a little few pounds on there. But you younger guys don't have an excuse. Lose the weight, exercise, become your more handsome self. Become the type of dude that a girl is attracted to. Okay, so a lot of young guys are always railing like, there's no good girls out here. But if they were to look honestly in the mirror, they're maybe presenting the image of a child molester. I don't mean to be funny in that, but a creeper. And a lot of quality girls are not going to respond to that. Now, along with this more handsome version of you, and some of us have, more physical attributes than others, and some of us are just cursed with plain looks. Just be the better version of yourself. But along with that, I want you to be super duper confident when you're around the opposite sex. Act like you don't give a shit if they like you or not. Always come across that way. And I'm not saying be a dick. That's not what I'm saying, but don't act desperate. Don't act like, I'll do anything. Don't be that simp. Never. Just say, hey, man, I'm going to the park tomorrow. If you want to go, cool. If not, I got other options. Be that kind of guy. Girls love that stuff. They love it when they act like you don't care about them. I don't know why. They do. Did I apply this in my dating time? Absolutely. It's a privilege for them to be with you, not the other way around. You're on your way up. You're going to be successful. You're going to have money coming in. You're a cool guy. You have a great sense of humor. You're adventurous. It's a privilege to be with you. Okay? Make sure that comes across when you interact with the opposite sex. Don't be desperate. Don't be dorky. Be dry-witted. Be kind of nonchalant. Be very James Bondish. Girls love that. Again, you're going to see things changing around for you. I talked about going from your Uber job to another employment. Is that possible in today's very strange economy where jobs are very hard to get? And my boys tell me this all the time. Like, you have no idea how hard the job market is. And I do believe that. My dad always used to tell me, and I think he was correct, is even in the Depression, the Great Depression in the 1930s, my dad used to say there were jobs. There were people that were finding jobs, getting hired, and there were employers that needed good people. I still think that will play wherever. There's a better job waiting for you. And dang, I forgot to bring it out here. And if you don't have a better job, go create your own. Okay, and I just bought this prop. I meant to bring it in. It's basically a Star Wars blaster. It's a resin blaster, 3D. I'll roll a photo of it in. It's 3D, I wouldn't say printed. He created it out of resin somehow, and he painted it. It's going to be a prop for the tabletop reviews I do here. And I think that's this dude's job. And he's probably making a living off it. Is he going to get rich? Probably not. But there's ways to get creative, especially with the internet. The good part of the internet, either through an Etsy seller profile or eBay, ways you can make money. Ways that you can make money wherever you live. So if you don't have an employer picks up the bait, shame on them. You're a catch. Again, you're advantageous to be hired. And when you interview, you want to be very open, professional, seek services that are trustworthy about how to interview, but also be very confident. And inside, when you're interviewing with an employer or job you really want, deep down inside, you should be thinking, again, I'm a catch. I will be an asset to your company. It's not even debatable. Don't think of it the other way. Oh, please hire me. Oh, please, I want this job. Kind of don't care. It's like, well, this is what I have to offer. I'm very happy. I'd like to be part of your team. These are my skills. This is my experience. I'd love to be part of it. But there should sense in you a self-confidence that you are an asset. People are drawn to that. They are drawn to that style of charisma. They want someone who knows what's going on, who knows who they are. People love that. Women and men, I like that guy. He kind of knows what's going on. If all things go to shit, I can trust him. He will be good under pressure. I love that guy. Women are the same way. And don't fault women for this. You wouldn't look, if you're a woman looking for a man, would you go with someone who's unsure of himself, who has no self-esteem, who has no prospects? I wouldn't. I want to hook my wagon to someone who's got an upward vector that I know that can provide for me and my children, that will provide a lifestyle. I don't have to be rich, but I don't have to be worrying about us making bills every month. You can't fault women for searching this out. That's normal for them. They're supposed to look for that. You want to be that guy. Notice how, by the way, all this is interchanged. So I'm jumping back and forth between your career aspirations to your relationship aspirations. They're like this. That when you get one squared away, you get the other squared away. I don't know why. It just works out that way. Maybe it has something to do with the reset you. That you're not that loser dude anymore. Yeah, I went through that period of my life. Yeah, I made some mistakes. Yeah, it's regretful, but I've turned a new page. Things are still going on. Maybe you say, well, Nutnfancy, you mentioned it, there's an upside down world, and it is. Can we still expect to have a happy life with what's going on? Well, I defer you to God the Father. And God the Father tells us we are here to be happy. Nowhere do I read that you're here on earth to be miserable. You're here to be happy, and men are that they may find joy. So the answer is yes, you can be happy. And I have other videos, I'll post them below, describing exactly how, spiritually speaking. It's all tied into each other. You're going to swing from one branch to the next, and the next one will be positive. Is this really possible, Nutnfancy? Has this really happened with people who watch you? Absolutely. Absolutely. I've had people I met in person they said, dude, I started watching when I was 12. I started applying the things you talked about, and now I'm an engineer. I just graduated from such and such course. I just posted a video on that guy on the B channel. Subscribe to the B channel, by the way. It's below. Awesome. He's like, yeah, I forget what he was, like an electrical engineer, and he's like, I never thought I could do it, but I did what you said. I believed in myself. My family wasn't supportive. Boom, graduated. Have a good job waiting for me. Don't expect constant success. You're going to have some downturns. You're going to have some failures. Welcome to life. It's not all peaches and cream. So you're not going to, after you do everything, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm a millionaire in 1 year's time. That's not going to happen. Step by step, this is what we're doing. Boom, 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 boom. Get a friend. In this comment from Loki, he's talking about find places to meet like-minded individuals. Be willing to be vulnerable and start a conversation. I couldn't have said it better myself. I couldn't have. This is what you need to do. There are dudes in your vicinity, in your area, your town, wherever you are, that feel just like you do. You need to find them. But Nutnfancy, how can I find them? I I don't know, the first step. Well, what do you like to do? In the chat today, I said, hey, if you like hiking, join a hiking club. You might be surprised who you find there. You might find a girl there you like. But you need dude friends. That's my point. You need normal dude friends. It's wholesome, it's healthy, it's expected. I've always had really close dude friends in my relationships. My relationship with Mrs. Nutnfancy. I've always said, hey, I'm going out and spending time with this dude. And she's like, yeah, rock on. She knows it's good. She knows it's healthy. She knows it's expected. A woman who says, well, you're not going to share time with a guy. All your time is supposed to be spent on me. I'm threatened if you go spend time with another dude. If you have a girl like that, she needs to be corrected. She's wrong. Spending great quality, wholesome, adventurous dude time with your buddy, your close inner circle friend or friends, is only going to help your relationship with your girlfriend or your wife. If she doesn't understand that, she's an effing moron.
I'm good, dude.
Tell her as much. Like, you're an idiot. It's like dudes need adventure. They need other guy friends. It doesn't mean I don't love you. Get real. Okay.
Hey, I used to be there.
Get a friend. However you have to do it. Go online. There's certain places online. I mentioned in the chat, like Facebook, and last suspect, my youngest son said, no, Facebook doesn't work anymore. I don't know. You figure it out. You're smart. There's some place somewhere where you can meet guys like this, and maybe it's in Patreon, TNP Patreon. I know I'm selling my donation service, but honestly, the guys over there are amazing. Maybe you find some dudes over there and someone who lives close to you, like, hey man, let's go shoot an AR-15s. Let's go on a motorcycle ride. Let's go fishing. Let's go frog gigging in the swamp down here in Louisiana. Let's go, whatever. Let's go throwing the Frisbee. Dudes need to have other close dudes. And also, like he said here, be willing to communicate honestly with them. And if they're not people that you can communicate honestly with, maybe you need to keep looking. It's okay to be vulnerable with your friends and just say, hey, man, I'm feeling down. I feel like I'm a failure. I tried this. It didn't work out. A good friend will listen to that. He'll give you some tips, and he'll just be a bouncing, what am I trying to say, a sounding board for you. That's what good friends do. Have I had that? Yeah, pretty much my whole life. I've had a very close, guarded, highly selected inner circle of dudes. And honestly, at this point, it's like maybe 3. And that's normal, especially at my age. It's normal. Of guys I can tell anything to. I don't get judgments from them. If I feel like I suck at something, I can say, hey, man, I really sucked at this. Do you have any suggestions for me? And a good close friend is never competitive with you. Remember that. He's not competitive with you. He's not threatened by your success. If you achieve success, he claps for you. He comes to all your ceremonies, whatever. Like when I pinned on Lieutenant Colonel, my closest friends were there. Thumbs up. Awesome. They're happy for you. They're not threatened. That's a good way you can know if they're truly a friend. They're always looking out for your best interests, and they want the best for you. Someone else like that. Who is that? Oh, yeah, God. God is that way. So you're trying to find people that are basically, I don't want to say like God, but they have the same type of effect in your life. A righteous effect, a good effect, a positive effect. But friends who are destructive to you, who insult you, who talk behind your back, who belittle you when you're not around, get rid of them. We're almost done, boys and girls. I'm sorry, just boys. No girls allowed in this one. Hobbies. Have some good hobbies that are fun. I mentioned some already. TNP is a lot of work for me. A lot of work. And it's not the only thing I do in life. So it's hard fitting it all in, but there's always a ton going on. Knife reviews, gun reviews, adventures, motorcycle rides, scuba diving, jumping out of helicopters. I made that last one up. Boating. So in the Zodiac Pro Open, tons of stuff. Again, it's part of modeling a masculine, wholesome, adventurous lifestyle. Along the way, talking about cool gear to help guys, as I call it, systems. Now, you don't need a project like that, but you should have something that is passionate to you, that gets you outside, out of the house, out of the apartment, out of the trailer, wherever you live, and gets you outside. Doing things that are hopefully kind of difficult, that challenge you. And again, even if it's a hobby it's challenging, and you master a small part of that hobby, that will add to your life, to your self-esteem, to how you think about yourself. And again, we're building on small objectives reached. And you'll find that it just becomes a way of life, that you accomplish this, you accomplish that, you accomplish this. You fail at that, regroup, I'm going to try again, failed again, regroup, try again, boom, third time's a charm, I just did it. You'll see guys in the comments saying that. They're like, yeah, he's absolutely right. It's like, I tried this. I'm a road biker. I wanted to do like 100 miles in a day, and I couldn't do it. I tried and tried and tried. There's an old story about a guy who decided he was going to kill himself. He's like, my life is not worth meaning. He was heavy. He was out of shape. He's like, I think the best way to do it is just run until I have a heart attack, and then it'll be natural, and I don't have to traumatize anybody with taking my own life. And so he does. He sets off running. Sure enough, man, he's running as hard as he can, and he's like, he falls over. Strange thing, though, he doesn't have a heart attack. He just exhausted himself. He's like, God, I just can't even succeed at this. So the next day he tries again. He starts running again, seeing if he can get himself to have a heart attack. Same thing, falls over, passes out, wakes up. This process starts repeating over and over again. He's really set. If there's one thing he's going to do in his life, it's going to be successful at having a heart attack while running. Don't ask me why. This is just what he wanted. So he does this. You might know where this is going. What happens is he just slowly but surely gets in shape. Like a couple months later, he's running like 10 miles before he falls out and passes out. Then he finally looks at himself. He goes, wow, dude, I've lost some weight. I feel kind of good about myself. He becomes a road runner. Road runner. Yeah. He saved his life quite accidentally just by approaching it that way. Now, is this story true? I don't know. It's an anecdote, but there is an element of truth in it. As if we become accomplished in one thing, as challenging as it may be, we may surprise ourselves. And we may surprise ourselves in saying, wow, I'm surprised at what I'm capable of doing. I didn't think I was capable of doing this. I didn't think when I weighed 275 pounds, I would become like a long distance runner. Now I weigh 185 pounds and I can run like 25 miles without stopping. Wow. Wow. I wish you all the best in your quest to overcome feelings of male sadness, male isolation. In the first part of this video, I went under the hood and I talked about as to why you're made to feel this way, societally speaking. This is part of the message, the attack on men, the abandonment of fathers, the dissolution of the traditional family unit, the creation of anger and solitude in men. It's been very successful. You wouldn't think it would be, but it has been. And then we talked about the great reset, of how you're going to attack this, how you're going to visualize the new you. You're going to shoot for the stars when you do this. And then you're going to create goals along the way. Maybe they're daily goals, maybe they're weekly goals, and you will achieve those goals. You will fail at some of them. You'll regroup and you'll reset those goals. We talked about the importance of achieving and how you will achieve emotional stability, that you're not going to have super highs, you're not going to have super lows. It'll be more along the baseline, how this is healthier for you. Exercise program, exercise, workout, very important. Constantly visualizing the new you. Okay, and you're going to be amazed at how it changes your life immediately, how you're not going to quit, officer and a gentleman. Expect challenges. It's going to be hard for you. And by the way, I'll throw this in, you're going to have people that don't like your new you. They're going to try to drag you back into the bucket of crabs. Expect that. And again, people who are like that, get rid of. They're negative. They're not looking out for your best interests. Seek people who are good, strong, alpha male friends who have your best interests at heart, that will come to anything you achieve and celebrate your achievements. These friends are critical. Hobbies, have them. There you go. Lieutenant Colonel Nutnfancy from the warehouse. Was I inspired to make this video today? Yes, 100% I was. Am I an imperfect messenger, a goofball, if you will? Yes. But I think there's a lot of truth in this video. I think if you will apply it, I think you can and will overcome sadness, feelings of isolation, feelings of inadequacy in today's world. And I don't blame you for this. It's part of the negative, evil messaging of the world, but you will overcome it. You will become the new you. You will be happier, and you're going to come back to me in maybe a couple years' time and go, holy crap, I cannot believe I changed my life. Again, this similar messaging has occurred in the Nutnfancy project, but this has to be hit upon multiple times to get through. Thanks so much. Subscribe, become a donor to the Nutnfancy project. Patreon is what I'm using right now. Anybody can afford $5 to $7 a month. I mean, come on now. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again real soon. Best of luck and all. I know you can do it.